Hello, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Cynthia Clark, palm reading consultant and soulmate expert. You can find me over at soulmate.support or at palmistry.world. And today I would like to talk to you a little bit about one of the readings that I do for people, and that is a soulmate and relationship reading. And this is a special type of palm reading that I do to help people identify who their soulmate match is, who are their great matches, their good matches, who is their opposite. And it's to understand who they are emotionally. What are your emotional needs? What is your emotional energy? Um, how are your heart chambers doing, and what does that mean, and which ones are open or blocked, and what do you need help with, basically, to not only identify who that soulmate match is, but also get into the realm of actually attracting that, if that's what you're looking for in your life. So we are going to be taking a look at a person's hands today, and I'll take you through the process. Okay, so here we have a beautiful hand in front of us, and we are going to do a soulmate and relationship reading based upon what your hand is telling you. Okay, so the first thing I want to learn about you is, what is your primary element? The way that I do that is I measure out your middle finger in relationship to your palm. And you can see how long those fingers are. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, you've got long fingers. Okay, so we always measure the middle finger in relationship to the palm first to determine if the fingers are long or short. And then we take the second measurement, which is going to be from the base of the middle finger to what's called the rascets, which is the edge of the palm. And we measure that in relationship to the width. And you can see here that you are almost a perfect square. Okay, so this hand shape is air. Okay, so your primary element is air. That means that you are somebody who is very thoughtful, and you're curious about things. You want to know what's going on. You want to be, you need to challenge your mind, basically, is what that means. Okay, also, you need to have fresh air. I also recommend for you breathing exercises just to keep yourself in a good space. So, especially if you're around a partner, if you feel like you can't breathe sometimes, you need to make sure you get out there and take a nice deep breath. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so the next thing we want to look at is what we call your strong finger. Now, we don't count the thumb in this case. The thumb actually represents your willpower, and you do have a nice big thumb. You're obviously very strong-willed. And we want to look at each of the other fingers, and we measure them relative to each other. And you've actually got a very long little finger. Okay, you also have a long Apollo finger. So your primary archetype is actually known as the devil. Okay, now a lot of people think, oh my God, sounds awful. No, there's some really good devil archetypes. In fact, two famous devils were Robin Williams and also Gandhi.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so that's kind of an interesting comparison. It's good to see who you're like. But so the combination of air plus Mercury is the devil. And so your personality actually is someone who your motivation is coming in from play through challenge. Okay, so when you think about the tarot card, the devil, it represents somebody who is, very just it's a playful energy. So you think of like devil's play. It actually represents Pan, who was the little half goat, half man. And he went around in Midsummer Night's Dream and he was creating some mischief. So do you like to create mischief in your life?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's who you are. But devil archetypes are ultimately about getting through challenges through play. Okay, so I would have imagined that you've actually been through some pretty big challenges in your life, especially in relationships, where you may have had things fall apart on you. And you just try and smile and get through it. Okay, that's important for you. It's like, okay, how do I just like make my life better without falling apart? Okay, so when you think about like somebody like Robin Williams, it's like, well, he would make a joke about stuff, right? Mm-hmm. He would make other people laugh, but ultimately, there were some addiction problems, and that's actually one of the challenges of this hand shape is overcoming addictive behavior. So you want to make sure that the addictions that you have are healthy rather than unhealthy. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so when we look at your soulmate match, we look at what you're complementary with. In this case, fire is your complementary energy. So you would want to find somebody with shorter fingers and more of a long rectangular palm. That's a fire hand, and that would be a good match for you. And also compatible with the Mercury finger would be the Apollo finger. So fire and Apollo, your soulmate match would be the Wheel of Fortune, okay, in conjunction with the devil. So that's somebody who's very dynamic, somebody who creates their own luck, somebody who is, they have almost a magnetic personality. It goes really well with your air energy. Okay, and you can identify them through a long ring finger and a fire-shaped hand. Okay, so other great matches for you would be any of the other fire types. Okay, so we've got fire archetypes. Okay, so we've got the Magician would be another great match for you. That's somebody who's, again, the fire is very dynamic energy, and also somebody who has a good direction. Okay, so they help guide you in a direction, because sometimes you're all about just playing and you don't necessarily have a direction. The Magician can help direct you. You'd also do well with fire combined with a strong middle finger, which is the Lovers. Helps balance out your independent energy and bring it into a partnership relationship. And you'd also do well with the Chariot, which is somebody with a strong Jupiter finger. Now, I noticed that you have a ring on your Jupiter finger.
Yes.
Okay, now this tells me that you're actually trying to activate this finger. Okay, so I would say, at least in a relationship standpoint right now, you are searching for a Chariot.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so even though your soulmate match may be the Wheel of Fortune, it's almost like, well, I want to activate Jupiter instead. And that's another one of your great matches is the Chariot energy. So this is the first thing that we learn about you. Now, the next thing we want to look at are what are other good matches for you? Well, any of the air hand shapes are good for you. Okay, so the same hand shape as you with the long finger, square palm, and then any of these fingers being the strong finger could also be a good match. In fact, what's that?
Saturn and Apollo.
Yes, Saturn, Apollo, or Jupiter.
Oh, Jupiter.
Okay, so air and Jupiter would be the Strength archetype. You'd also do well with the Hierophant archetype or the Temperance archetype. So those types are, again, they're going to vary slightly in their characteristics. Strength person is going to be more of a visionary type. They're going to be, always looking at the bigger expression of themselves, usually quite gentle and giving as well. The Hierophant represents somebody who's more of a spiritual teacher type. That's a good match for you. And then the Temperance type is somebody who is creative, but they also have a direction and they find what works. So they're methodical in how they create things. Okay, now your opposite match would be Earth. Okay, air is opposite with Earth, which would be the same hand shape as you. It'd be a rectangular palm, but with shorter fingers.
Okay.
Okay, so, and then the opposite of Mercury would be Saturn. Okay, so Earth, Saturn, your opposite is the Empress archetype. Now, you can sometimes attract your opposite, and they often do teach you things. I actually look at opposite energies as a teaching, learning experience.
Yes.
So that can be good, but you're coming from a totally different space in terms of how you get your answers and how you go through life. So an Empress is just, it's going to be your opposite energy. Okay?
All right.
So that is part one of our reading today.